we did a podcast recently. You may have watched it over on our YouTube channel. And for those of you who don't know that we have a YouTube channel, you can go to youtube.com/Parts Counter Gurus. Subscribe while you're there, and you can see segments of our podcast over there, video segments of that. And we did one recently about the movies, the movie industry. And Keith, I'm going to let you take the story because you are the bigger movie buff than I am. But, obviously the theater industry is just absolutely just having a heck of a time during COVID.
Yeah, so and by the way, if you haven't listened to that podcast, and we put the video out too, I think, Jay, we called it what? Movies in 2020?
Movies in 2020. You got it, sir.
This is a little bit of a...
I hate to say I told you so.
From us, because we kind of called this. Now, I didn't know this, but apparently Regal Cinemas shut down all their
back in
theaters.
October?
Yeah, in October. Now they have a big car show at the cinema lot where we close to us. You know the one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's still going on. But Warner, I think it was Warner Brothers, their film studio came out and made a deal with HBO Max recently and just said we're going to simultaneously premiere all of our slated movie releases for 2021 on HBO Max for like the first month and at theaters. And the thinking there is, yes, there's a coronavirus vaccine out right now. It's in circulation. They're trying to get it, mass produced. But things aren't going to, finger quotes, go back to normal for quite a while. And it's going to take a while for all of those efforts to kind of normalize things. So my point is theaters aren't going to be back at full capacity like for a good while. And
yeah, it'll probably be late next year at the earliest before we'll see these, and that's if they come back.
And you're just not gonna. So two things have been working against theaters. They can't sell to capacity, and a lot of them on opening weekends we used to go and they would be full. And then you've got, and we did this, I think on that previous podcast, you've got all the major releases pushing back, going, no, we're not going to release them right now because we need to recoup our, $100 million budget or whatever it was. So things like the Top Gun sequel and Marvel's Black Widow and on and on and on.
The James Bond, the new,
right?
Yep.
And so AMC and Regal, they've got no draw. They've got no blockbuster, what do they call them, tentpole movies to put out there,
right,
to draw people in. So yeah, it's not a good situation for them. And I want to throw an interesting slant at this, just because I never let a good opportunity to take a dig at Apple go. Mm-hmm. And look, we're using Apple equipment. You guys, before you jump on my case, my first adult computer was a PowerBook 145B that I bought in college. I had a Commodore 64 when I was a kid, but I bought that, paid for it with my own money, have had Macs ever since. I'm just really disappointed in the lack of innovation the past 5 or 6 years. So if you read Steve Jobs' biography, which came out 6 or 7 years ago, there's a pretty good amount of time devoted in that biography to his efforts with iTunes, bringing iTunes to reality, convincing the record labels to sign. None of them wanted to do it at first. Now you'd be silly not to, but that wasn't always the case. People didn't know the capability of things like iPods back then. And so here we have, back then, Jobs was kind of a pioneer. Apple didn't have that brand recognition that they have today. It was a risk, right? Microsoft was the bigger player. But here you have Apple who, Jay, if Apple approached you tomorrow, and you're, anybody, right? If you're Warner Brothers or you're Marvel Studio, would you be like, we'll have to think about it? I mean, you'd take it seriously, right?
Oh, absolutely would, especially with the success of iTunes. I mean, everybody said that wouldn't work, and as a person who was a vocalist, and I recorded in studios, and that dream of putting an album out and that sort of stuff, you want to sell the album, make money. And then you had, what was it, the Napster thing going on, and then iTunes comes in and saves the day basically, and which is great. And everybody said it wouldn't work, but
yeah.
Who goes out and buys a CD per se anymore? Everybody streams it, downloads it.
So here you have a hardware company in Apple who's trying more and more to be a services company.
Mm-hmm.
Having an opportunity literally put right in front of them because they now have their own TV network, or whatever you want to call that, media outlet.
Apple TV Plus, you talking about? Or?
And
yeah.
They've
got a free subscription with my new MacBook.
They could make a home theater type experience with their hardware innovation. They could partner with the movie industry for release on their products. Hey, Apple, if you want to move into the service industry, that's how you do it.
Absolutely.
But it requires creative thinking and innovation instead of just releasing noise-canceling headphones that everybody else has been doing for 15 years. I mean, And
not only that, they're in the process of these new chips, the M1 chips coming out, and that is really, really upsetting the apple cart right now in the world of that. And and again, it didn't work back then with their own chips. So we'll see where that goes, but I wish them luck. But yeah, you're right. I mean, Apple should be poised to be able to step in and kind of.
I mean, if not them, who
why
better,
not?
right? Who better?
Right.
And they could do it, and they could release a product, and they could. I mean, we all still want to watch blockbuster movies,
right? Would you by chance foresee, the feds jumping in here and bailing out the industry? At all, like they did the automotive industry? I mean, is it that viable of a revenue for
that's an
for
interesting
the country, for the world?
There's a lot of jobs if you look at those movie credits.
Sure.
Pages and pages and minutes and minutes
grips
of scrolling.
And gaffers and people who feed.
I guess as long as we don't get Tom Cruise and Daniel Craig taking PPP bailout money or whatever, because that's the problem we had with the first round of this whole PPP thing is we're finding out now that people like Tom Brady started companies and got PPP loans, right? And so I guess,
with the boat.
It could potentially happen,
It could.
One thing is for certain, if it does happen, I'm going back to this clip and playing it.
Right, man. Look, just to kind of give you guys a perspective out there listening, movie theaters attendance is down nearly 95%.
Yeah.
Since like November of 2019, for obvious reasons. That's a big deal, guys. I mean, you take 95% of your revenue away. That's what else can they do?
You're 10, right? You have to say yes.
Yeah.
Can't hear you shaking your head. Okay, so what's the last movie you remember going to see at the theater? Just that you remember. First one that comes to mind.
Spies in Disguise.
Spies in Disguise. Do you miss going? You want to go back to the theaters? Like if Apple came out with a product that you could have that theater experience at home. You were just talking about virtual classroom with Jay before we started. You think it would be the same, or would you still want to go to the theater?
I think it would be pretty close to the same. It may not be exactly the same.
Yeah.
But I think it would be pretty close.
Then you just bring your friends over and you have your own theater. Yeah. Okay. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Why not? I have some family, man. That's what they did. They took an entire room in their house, and I mean, this thing is like walking into a Regal Cinema. It really is. They've got popcorn makers. They got Coke machines in there. It's a real deal experience, man. Right. And they've got the nice surround sound and the curtains and the whole 9 yards. So pretty fun. So Hey, let's hope that our industry comes back, and I hope that for a lot of the actors out there. We need to probably have Marlon on, our good friend Marlon Young, who we've had on a previous podcast, who is an actor, and see how the industry is treating him right now.
Be a good follow up.
Yeah, it would be. We should just get him on, so we'll keep that in mind. So.